Hey guys, it's the Voracious Prepper. Today I'd like to talk about self-defense ammunition and picking a good self-defense load. I feel like this video is going to be more directed at new gun owners because it can sometimes be a daunting experience trying to find a good ammo because there's such a wide array of different brands and different technologies ingrained in some of these bullets. So I hope at the end of this video this provides some insight to you guys. I decided to go with 9mm for a couple reasons. One, I have the most availability of it. 2, it has a fair price point. 3, it's a very popular round. And 4, it's widely available both in-store and online. I would also like to add in that most self-defense pistols these days, especially in the subcompact market, is 9mm. It's a very popular round for self-defense. Also, the technologies that they have implemented in some of these bullets, it's pretty good. They are solid rounds, guys. With that being said, let's get started. To the left, I have FMJ Full Metal Jacket. To the right, I have JHP Jacketed Hollow Point. I would like to focus on Full Metal Jacket for a moment. Typically, Full Metal Jacket is used for target practice and plinking around and learning how to use your gun. Why? Mainly the price, guys. For 50 cartridges, this was like 15 bucks. Whereas this Federal Premium HST, I only got 20 rounds for about $30. It's substantially more expensive. I wish I could afford to shoot jacketed hollow points more often, but I just can't. So ball ammunition all the way. Now, if the world goes to poo-poo and everything's going downhill, I have a lot more Full Metal Jacket rounds, so absolutely, I will just use this up. But in a rule of law situation, I'm going to stick with jacketed hollow point. I would also like to say another reason why I would avoid using these for personal defense for the most part. Full Metal Jacket tends to overpenetrate. What that means is that it could potentially go all the way through your target and potentially hurt someone else on the other side. That's a very important gun rule, guys, is knowing what's behind your target. So the way jacketed hollow points and how they shine is they're designed to stop within the body. They're not designed to overpenetrate. That's a big win. With that being said, mainly Full Metal Jacket is target practice. Now let's talk about jacketed hollow points. These are what I personally use. Exclude this one, it's just an extra box I have. These are very particular of what I use. For my everyday carry pistol, this is what I use. Federal Premium HST 124 grain plus B. Before I proceed, I would like to explain how a jacketed hollow point works. Upon impact, the bullet mushrooms out. Almost think of like peeling a banana. It mushrooms out and it flattens. By doing that, it increases the diameter size of the bullet. Okay? What that means is a much bigger wound cavity, more blood loss, therefore better stopping power, and stopping power is what matters. So, with that being said, as I mentioned, here are the specs, the plus P, the 124 grain. What does plus P mean? Plus P means overpressurized. Basically, this has 10% more gunpowder than your average 9mm bullet. Okay, what does that do? It's a hotter round, essentially, okay? So it's going to have more feet per second, it's going to have better expansion, and it's going to have more energy upon impact. There are some caveats to plus P, though, that you should be aware of. It can cause wear and tear on your firearm over time, so it's imperative that you go through your gun owner's manual and you make sure that it can take plus P ammunition. Most modern firearms can take plus P ammunition, but it will say something along the lines of like, you can use plus P, but do not use it consistently as it can cause wear and tear. Now, in most modern pistols, you could easily run a good few dozen boxes of these through your pistol. You're not going to have any issue. The other problem with plus P is it does have a little bit more recoil, so you got to get better with your recoil management. Now, in terms of it outperforming just a standard jacketed hollow point that's not overpressurized, I've used plenty of standard rounds. They expand just fine, okay? But I don't mind spending an extra dollar and just getting a plus P. Now, there is also ammunition called plus P plus. I would avoid that like the bubonic plague. I've never been able to find it in the store. I feel like typically those are hand-loaded by people that know what they're doing, or you can maybe order them exclusively online. But basically what that means is that it's 20% more gunpowder or power than your average 9mm round. That will definitely probably cause wear and tear on your firearm, and it could potentially be dangerous. Most gun owner manuals say you should just avoid it altogether, so don't bother. Stick with Plus P or Standard. Now, I also have Hornady Critical Duty, and here's something interesting about understanding ammo. If you find an ammunition that you like, you should research it online and kind of understand some about it, what it's used for, so on and so forth, what's its ballistic performance, etc., and so on. Well, when I bought this, I didn't research it much, and I was shooting it out of my subcompact pistol. Well, it fired fine, it cycled fine, I had no problems with it, but I went home and I looked online, and it's actually more directed towards full-size combat pistols. It's also Plus P, it's also 124 grain, but to get peak performance out of this particular bullet, it shoots better out of something, say, a Glock 17 rather than a Smith & Wesson Shield, okay? So I did not know that, but that's just something to keep in mind. It's good to research something that you like. Now, when you find something that you like, buy 2 boxes of it to start out with. Go to the range, test it, make sure that it works. It is absolutely imperative that you make sure that the ammo works and it runs and it cycles reliably in your pistol. I feel like there is a lot of new gun owners out there that are not very versed in guns, not very infatuated with guns, but they want to get into guns. They want to have a self-defense gun, just to have around. So they go and they buy a gun, they buy some self-defense rounds, they load it up, but they never take it shooting. That's dangerous, guys. What if the gun malfunctions? You need to make sure that the ammo that you buy works well in your gun. Now, most quality ammunition in a quality firearm, you're not really going to have an issue, but you can. Sometimes you can. And when you need to use that gun and your life depends on it, the worst thing is to have a malfunction. You need to make sure, and you can still have malfunctions, so you got to practice clearing malfunctions, but I'm just saying, try to limit things, because it's doable, so taking it and testing it. I would also like to bring up that with my carry gun, I always carry an extra magazine. Sometimes a 13 round, sometimes a 50 round. Sometimes I'll carry both, but typically I only carry 1 extra magazine. 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is, what if my primary magazine fails? If it fails or something happens, I'm SOL. I don't have any extra magazines. Having an extra magazine is so important, guys. In addition to that, in a stressful situation, you may be shaking, you may miss half of your rounds. I don't know. But having extra ammo is just an additional peace of mind. Maybe there's a couple bad guys that you are defending yourself against. Maybe it's just 1. Typically it's 1. But have an extra magazine and test your magazines. Make sure all your magazines work. Test the magazines that you are going to carry. Also, I would like to talk about bullet grain. I didn't mention that yet. I apologize. As you can see, I have 115 grain. I have 124 grain. Most self-defense loads are 124 grain. What the grain is referencing is it's referencing the actual weight of the bullet itself. Now, typically lighter grain, now I'm specifically talking about 9mm, guys, not rifle loads or anything like that. I'm just fixated on 9mm. But a 9mm lighter load can usually travel further than a heavier load like 124 grain. However, that doesn't really matter, because most encounters, I feel like, this is just my personal viewpoint, my philosophy, most encounters are within a relatively short distance, 7 yards or less. So it doesn't matter if it's 115 grain or 124 grain, it's going to probably do the job. Now, this is where the grains, though, typically matter. Here's a good analogy to explain it. If I threw a golf ball at you as hard as I could, pretend this is the golf ball, the 115 grain, that's going to hurt pretty bad, okay? But if I took a softball, pretend that's 124 grain, and I threw that at you as hard as I could, that's going to hurt a heck of a lot more. And it's because more weight, more energy behind it, a harder impact. Some other things I want to clarify. Now, like I said, test a few of the boxes out that you want. It doesn't have to be this. I'm sure Winchester makes some good ones. I know some people love Gold Dot. I think there's some other brands. I typically stick with Hornady and Federal. And it's just what's available. See what you can find online, okay? And just watch some YouTube videos of the ballistics, or read online, see how it performs or what have you. But when you find a box that you really like, and you know that it works in your gun, stock up a decent amount on it, because sometimes it took me a while to find this. So I bought a good few boxes of it because it can be really hard to find this particular ammo, at least for me. I've had a hard time finding it. I would also like to talk about magazines. In most modern magazines, you can keep them fully loaded. It's not going to weaken the spring. It's not going to create a problem. Probably in much older firearms, yes, it could weaken the spring, but in modern firearms, these are designed to be full to max capacity. It's typically not going to cause an issue. Now, this is a quality round. It has decent specs and everything, so I'm not too worried about issues. But because I carry this in my pocket, moisture could eventually get to it. So every 6 months or so, I'll take apart my magazine, clean it really well, and inspect my ammo. Make sure there is no corrosion around the primer. Make sure there's no corrosion where the bullet meets the casing. Sometimes that happens, okay? But typically, even a little bit of corrosion isn't really going to be a problem. I have watched people shoot very corrosive ammo, and honestly, for the most part, it fired fine, but not always. Corrosive ammo could either just not shoot at all or potentially be dangerous. So inspecting your ammo every now and again is good. It's the way that I typically operate. What I will do is, in about a year from now, I will shoot all this ammo out of these mags, and I will just replace it with brand new rounds. That's what I do. About every year I rotate. Now, I don't know if it's the best idea to just keep the same bullets and not check your magazine and just keep it loaded for 5 or 6 years straight, especially if you're carrying it every day. That's probably not the best idea. But most ammunition, at least when you store it long term, if you store it properly, it will last a lifetime for the most part, guys. So these are just some things to consider. As I said, it's each their own. Just find a brand that you like, and if it works and it's reliable, you can afford it, it runs good, that's awesome. Stick with it. Don't change it. No real reason to change it, in all honesty. They're always coming out with different types of rounds. Like, I think there's some G2 RIP ammo. I don't like it. Never used it. I just don't like it in general. But they're always trying to make different types of things. But, Federal is tried and true. It's tried and true. Hornady, I would say tried and true as well. So just find something that you like. This is like a cheaper ammo that I bought, Ammo Incorporated, but I'm sure it works fine. So just find something that you guys like. I hope that this video, provides some insight, and like I said, it doesn't have to be overly complicating. It's just finding something you can afford that's available and that's reliable, and just more importantly, practice, 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 practice. Especially if you're going to carry the Plus P, because it is going to create a little bit more recoil. So you got to be able to get back on target quicker. The recoil isn't usually super substantial, but I do notice a difference. I hope this provides some insight for you guys, and I wish you luck on finding a good ammo. You guys have a good day. Take care. Bye.